anyone in the chat played in this game, please don't be spoiling. I'm sure you know all this already. And also, no excuses. If you lose, you lose. Come on, that's just life. And if you cheese, you'll be exposed to ridicule in the chat. So without further ado, let's go for it.
Indeed. Alright, AstrO versus TriX. Game number 1.
Okay. Just taking the time in between games to stuff my face with some cereal, otherwise I get incredibly hungry throughout the entire cast. So spawning in the top right hand corner as the blue Protoss, we have ISL3 AstrO. And in the bottom left hand corner spawning in as the white / grey Protoss, we have ISL3 TriX. And PvP, of course, one of my favourite matchups. I know many people have a tendency to disagree, but I think it's pretty cool stuff, especially on these reverse route maps where you can see a lot of very aggressive things and a lot of weird situations going into the mid game.
And whoops, didn't reset the score. But two solid players in TriX and AstrO. AstrO playing a in my opinion, the fun way with PvP. He rarely tries to end it with 2-base attack that just involves a lot of speed lots and goons and then a couple reavers. But he really tries to play for the 3-base game with maxed armies and really try to extend the game as long as possible, which is really what makes PvP interesting, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's got to kind of get rolling, so to speak. But it can be cool in the other game. I mean, when you see these back and forward Dragoon engagements, as you can get quite a lot of, I find it pretty curious. But then I'm biased because I just love PvP for some crazy reason. Probably because I win it more than anything else. Laying down the gateway in the base, TriX doing the normal stuff, and the same kind of stuff for AstrO. Curious to see how actually similar their base layouts are. So they're kind of placing stuff right at the edge, so it means they can get as much space in the middle of the base as possible to lay down plenty of gateways into the mid game and beyond. And that's happening now as well for TriX. Yeah, with a bit of luck.
TriX is a little bit slower on the assimilator. He was just making a few more minerals when he threw it down, and AstrO threw it down immediately. But very little difference moving forward.
Yeah.
I have not had a lot of opportunities to cast TriX, as you can see by his stats. Once it flips over to that page, he does not play in a whole lot of stuff. Rather reclusive. So I don't know exactly what his PvP style is. And oh, wow, that's very early. AstrO threw down the pylon in his excuse me, throwing down the pylon here. Normally you throw down the pylon here when you're scouting for dropships, but at this point in the game it's obviously far too early for dropships, so he's just doing that insanely preemptively. It also could be just trying to hide it there, so if TriX gets a scout off with a probe, then he'll go and he won't see another pylon. Theoretically it could be proxy reavers, but it's interesting. It's interesting that he's gonna do it that quickly.
Yeah, it is slightly peculiar. Not quite sure exactly what the plan is there. And another probe heading out, so I guess it's going to be some kind of tech. What's it going to be? It's going to be a Citadel of Adun. So this is a very interesting place to proxy attack, because of course the probe, as it takes its path into the base, will not even consider going there. And that is a very clever move. Not proxying it anywhere crazy out on the map where it could be run into by mistake, but just heading it straight down behind his minerals. So AstrO looks like he's feeling a little bit nervous playing against TriX and just going to throw down some cheese right in the other game. And AstrO, I already said this, if you're in the chat and you cheese, you're probably going to be exposed to ridicule, especially if you lose. If you win, then you're usually okay. One Dragoon's going to be able to take out the scouting probe anyway, so even if it had made its way into the base, it would have seen absolutely 100% nothing. Oh, and AstrO making the +1 air weapons just as a distraction tactic. So if the probe had made its way, it would have seen the cybernetics core spinning. Of course, the +1 air weapons are a slightly cheaper upgrade than that goon range that we're also used to seeing, so it's a good way to kill your opponent if you get unlucky.
Yep. Well, TriX is going for 2-gate robo. He will have moderately timed observers. Just it's a matter of, will he go for observers or will he go for Robotech? Then even if he does go for observers first, that is by no means game over for AstrO. You still have to be pretty diligent in your observer placement, especially... Oh, no, excuse me. AstrO only has 1 gateway, so he won't be able to get 2 DTs out immediately. You can create a lot of...
This is that weird expansion we saw before last week. This expansion build where you get 1 and then expand behind cannons, I think.
Yeah. It seemed to be gearing up that way. Yeah, obviously by only having one gateway, you're saving a lot of money to get that expansion down fast, and DTs do allow you to expand relatively quickly. But sometimes the issue could be if you only have one DT, that observer with very good placement can be trained on it. And, and you can still go and put pressure on as long as your observer's always in a good location against only a single DT. Probe coming in, it's going to see the early Nexus, and how is TriX going to respond to that? He did not quite get back far enough to see the Citadel, I don't think. So still in the dark about the DTs, but that early Nexus might be an indication that he should either expand on his own or go for an attack, and it looks like he's going to go for the former, getting down a very fast expansion. And Observer Tech is done. The first Observer is out on the way, and is going to be well in time to catch that first DT coming out from AstrO.
Yeah, I think TriX is actually a little bit more clued out now. I think he actually saw the Citadel. I'm not quite sure. I think it was allowed to do so. Yeah, as you said, the Nexus is already coming on in. So this first DT probably not going to be able to do too much damage. I think TriX is definitely going to know what's up. And that first Observer is going to stay hovering around the natural, and he's going to wait for a second one in order to do any kind of pushing out. But even forming a complete wall in with all his Dragoons just to make sure he's safe. And yes, there it is, as expected. Will he be able to catch the Dragoon? Will he be able to chase it down? Yes, he does chase down the DT, excuse me. So that's a little bit of a problematic opening for AstrO. And I do hope he's planned for this in his grand scale of things.
Yeah. It's unfortunate to not be able to get that DT down, but on the other hand, if TriX isn't able to punish the early expansion, going for an early DT build isn't going to mean that he's terribly behind. He's actually doing a weird economic version of DT first, as we saw last week. So Storm is on the way. That's going to help out. It's a little bit interesting to see him go for Storm, though, just because with such small numbers, Storm is sometimes not as effective, coupled with the fact that he really doesn't have so many gateway units to protect his High Templar. It can be a little bit risky going for Storm this early, but the payoffs are obviously there if you can get a good Storm off on the army, or even go for very fast Storm drops that your opponent's not expecting.
Yeah, that's actually quite a strong characteristic of this build, and oh no, TriX flying his second Observer straight into the cannon. Yeah, the Storm is a good way, like you said, of getting Storm drops up nice and early so you can surprise your opponent in that regard. Not that it's the best map for Storm drops, it's a very, very defensible natural, because as you can see, the natural is actually on the high ground. So there's no cliff over which the shuttle can hide and then come in and surprise the natural, but it's decent enough for that nonetheless. But it's also very good for defending against Reaver pushes, whereby the Storm is often out just in the nick of time to make you safe against that kind of thing. But there's going to be nothing of the kind happening for TriX. Instead, he's gone straight up to Citadel of Adun himself, so he's just trying to get even in tech. Throwing down 3 gateways as well, so his macro is going to kick in maybe slightly earlier than AstrO's as well. So this is looking pretty even going into the mid game here. Supplies not quite level actually. TriX slightly ahead in supplies, 64 to 56.
Yeah, and you would expect TriX to be a bit ahead at this point, just given that he's been producing off of more gateways for longer, where AstrO has been making more expensive units that don't necessarily reflect in the supply. But as you can see, the probe saturation pretty close for both players. I think maybe AstrO has slightly better, but AstrO should have slightly better, as they're both still making probes. Or no, excuse me, TriX has stopped making probes. At least at one of the next day. No, okay, start again.
No,
just momentarily.
Slight blip.
So you would expect AstrO to have slightly better, given that they're both doing almost constant probe production, and AstrO's Nexus finished a bit faster.
I mean, a probe can be actually really, really good at this stage. As you can see, both players have well-saturated bases now. They're pretty much at optimal saturation. So if you cut probes now and you just throw down a bunch of gateways, you can actually form a nice little bit of a timing attack in the mid-game, which, as long as you can follow it up correctly, can actually work out really, really well. But as we can see, neither player doing that. Both of them just continue to beef up their economies. And just kind of trying to assess the army size. Not Ghost King, what am I talking about? AstrO will be feeling good about his number of High Templar. He's managed to get them out nice and early, so he's going to have plenty of Storm in those, whereas TriX are a little bit later, so that'll give AstrO the edge in terms of the Side Storm numbers in the mid-game, if there is any kind of relatively early engagement, just looking at the Observer action. But yeah, it's really pretty even at this stage.
Yeah, and that's a good thing to point out. I talked about how it was a little bit risky for AstrO to go for those early High Templar, but given that TriX didn't attack, it's really going to pay off for him going into the mid/late game, because he's just going to have so many full energy Templar all ready to go, where if TriX adds in his Templar at a more normal time, they all won't be quite at full energy. So we could see that really pay off for him. TriX actually moving out now with the shuttle, 2 High Templar in it. We're going to see him go for the first Storm drops.
Bit of a turnaround there. I like to keep guessing in my PvPs. Yeah, we're going the other way. TriX getting the Storm drops in before AstrO does, and if these are successful, then this is a really good way for him to get ahead, especially since AstrO has no immediate plans to do any such thing. This would be a little bit expensive. It'll take a little bit of a toll on TriX's army, of course, so this could give AstrO a little bit of a window. Managed to take the Observer out on the way across the map as well, but here he goes. AstrO is going to be landing in his High Templar. He's going to land them straight down. TriX, really nice job of spotting AstrO, managing to land one Storm. You only see maybe a total of 10 kills on those 2 High Templars, so doing well, but not a huge game changer. Good job nonetheless, but since both these players are so well saturated at the moment, it shouldn't be too much of an effect. And TriX is multitasking, falling off slightly there, missing a few rounds of pro production, but he's going to be okay nonetheless. So yeah, Storm drop, not a failure, but not a resounding success either. That DT going to be sniped out after taking care of 1 probe, sent out to lay down TriX's third, which will happen in just a second, I would imagine.
Yep. Alright. Yeah, this could put AstrO in a little bit of an uncomfortable position, because he knows if he doesn't quite have a strong enough army to really put pressure on TriX, that high ground is going to be just too much for him to handle. At the same time, though, he knows that if he doesn't do any real damage, then TriX is going to have a much better economy than him, and those that 10 probe difference is just going to continue to increase. AstrO's a player who really likes drops in PvP. So I'm surprised we haven't seen him go for earlier ones himself.
Oh, massive Storm drop going down all over the probes of AstrO. That is incredibly problematic. Lovely, lovely drop from TriX. Sorry to interrupt you there, but that was big, big stuff. And look at the probe saturation now for AstrO. He's got maybe 2 bases worth of probes, 1 base worth going over to his third, and another at his natural, just coming in now. But that is huge. And now TriX chooses his moment to move out and try to do some damage. He knows his army will be back in much quicker than AstrO's. AstrO doing a little bit of Storm dropping action of his own, and it could help him out in this battle that he has so many high energy High Templars in his army still.
Yeah, it can be kind of difficult to decide when exactly you want to go, because it's a matter of balancing. You don't want to give your opponent time to rebuild, but at the same time you need to let after such a good attack like that, you want to let the effects of that really grow, because if he didn't kill any units with that Storm drop, he just killed probes. So the army sizes haven't changed. He does have a slightly bigger army anyway, and I think he just wants to go for map positioning right now.
Could see a really big drop coming in from AstrO here. He's taking the shuttle all the way into the main base, having jettisoned his zealots nice and early. This could be really bad for TriX. Oh, not quite doing the damage he could have done, but getting some nice kills nonetheless. And then, is that his High Templar being morphed straight into an Archon in the main? Yeah, it is. That's a little bit of an odd decision, choosing not to be low, but I guess that just saves them from... They look like they were probably going to go down, but all the while TriX looks like he's going to choose this point to engage, because his advantage will probably be greatest at this point. And he's going to be going into AstrO's third. Nice Storm getting laid down, however, so this is going to be a very, very difficult place to engage for TriX, and I don't think he's made the right decision in going in here. There is a nice SimCity preventing any goose from coming up the ramp, and he is beaten back after taking quite a few Zealot losses there. Very, very cost effective for AstrO, and that's a good edge back into the game for him.
Yeah, it's... yeah, AstrO really needs to rely at this point. It needs to rely on the high ground, needs to rely on the choke to hold TriX off, to allow himself to stabilize, and that high ground does help out quite a bit, especially in this matchup, but is it going to quite be enough? The thing I'm surprised right now is that TriX has no Archons, and when you start to get up to this 150 supply-ish, it's time to really start considering adding in those units. They just tank so much damage. This is the point in the game where your opponent starts to get lots and lots of Zealots, which are just eaten alive by Archons.
Yeah, I can't really explain why he doesn't have more gas units and no gas. Did we just miss a Storm drop at the natural of AstrO? Yeah, I think we did. It looks like there's a lot fewer probes right there, so once again, TriX able to get in and do some more damage. AstrO's economy in trouble, but he did manage to run away a good number of probes, so it looks like he's probably going to be able to get that back up and running pretty quickly. Supply counts now looking fairly even. TriX still ahead though by 18 supply, so that's no small thing. And he's just keeping up map control, making sure he's got all the bases locked down so the AstrO can't get away with anything sneaky. That DT roaming across the map, though, one kill to its name, could be a little bit of a pain in the ass for poor AstrO, for TriX rather.
Yeah, the supply is actually slowly, the supply lead for TriX is actually slowly shrinking, as AstrO's only 20 behind now. And looking at the upgrades, AstrO does have better upgrades. He is going to have the high ground, actually sneaking out again with another shuttle. And for how spread out TriX's army was just a second ago, it's very lucky that AstrO will not quite get caught, though Dragoon does see it.
Oh! Yeah, close, very, very close.
Yeah, it's going to be able to live, but at the same time, he knows exactly what's going to happen, so he should be able to pull with plenty of time. Observer sees it again.
Yeah, that shuttle's probably not going to be doing anything right now. Surprised neither of these guys have shuttle speed yet, because that of course makes a big difference when you're getting in and dropping zealots on top of cannons. But here he goes, and the cannons are actually slightly misplaced, and the stack and the move from TriX is timely. Dropping both High Templar down, even though all the probes have run away, and those are some high energy High Templar. He wants those to live. He does not want to let those go down. Losing both his zealots, however, is going to make that a little bit more difficult. Meanwhile, here Dragoon fire. I don't think anything really important is happening. And the shuttle goes into the main base of TriX, where there are no probes once again. But if he can get to the natural, this could be a pretty big deal. And he lands one of his High Templar down, does he, somewhere?
Yeah, he landed at the third, just camping there in case probes come back. Now dropping the Templar, he has a... Oh, not enough... Wait, no, something else doesn't have enough energy. That totally has enough energy. Oh! 17 kills off of 2 great storms. That base was oversaturated, and TriX is not mining hardly. He has summoned an almost expired base, but he has just a pack of probes sitting out here because he can't get back. Now the probes are attacking the High Templar. Oh. Oh, alright. Finally uses a storm to kill off the probes attacking it, but does not have any more storms. And that is a great amount of damage done by AstrO. 20 probe kills with that harass, even though TriX saw it coming. But AstrO just very meticulous with the placement and the timing of his storm drops, able to do a lot of damage there. And AstrO, after being behind by so much, has really stabilized and is on about, actually, almost dead even supply, just 2 behind.
Yeah, and that's the power of harassing. Now AstrO decides that he's going to go in and get some nice storms. And if he storms as well, it could be a very nice beginning to the battle. He's going to lose his High Templar, which means he's not going to be able to Arcanate them, which is perhaps a little bit of a disadvantage, but most of them do manage to stay alive. So very, very nice for him, getting some good storms off on TriX's army too. And it looks like both of these players are choosing to pick this time for engagement. I think TriX knows he will ultimately lose this one. Not kind of AstrO with so many Archons in his army now too, but nice storm going out from TriX, going to do a hell of a lot of damage to a lot of these Archons, and now he decides to try and engage. I don't know if this is a good idea. The Archon's still going to make very, very light work of all his zealots. More nice storms being laid down by AstrO, and he's just barreling in here. This could work for him. Those Archons on the left-hand side are doing so much damage, and that is just unassailable. The Dragoons are no match for high gas units like these, and they are just powering through the entire army. The Zealots not lasting a second, the Dragoons not lasting a second, and that is how much of a difference having a big, big core of Archons can really make.
Yeah. 3 things really just swung the favor for AstrO there. 1 was great storms in the beginning. 2 is, as you said, the very high number of Archons. Possibly excessive, but it's certainly going to work out for him in this game. And the 3rd thing is the fact that his upgrades are just so nice compared to TriX. When that battle was going on, it was 3-1 compared to 1-1. TriX has now made it 2-1, but still, that's such a big difference in a PvP where everything else is so close. Oh, and a very nice win for AstrO, establishes map control, and all of a sudden TriX, who was looking in a great position, is now a little bit on his back foot here. Oh, I take that back. He's a lot on his back foot. He's behind by 50 supply. I didn't quite realize it was that bad.
Yeah, and that army is so powerful. I mean, keeping all those Archons alive was a big boon for AstrO. And now he's going to move into this 4th base that he managed to scout with his DT, which was roving around a little bit late, but scouts it nonetheless. And he might even be able to sandwich the rest of TriX's army. It looks like he's going to do exactly that. Nice storm being laid down on the Dragoons. He can take out 1 or 2 Dragoons nice and early. Another nice storm. He's got DTs there too, whereas TriX has no detection and no storms left to himself whatsoever either. And the rest of his army goes down, whilst his Nexus is being taken care of. And another base coming up too for AstrO, so that's 4 bases now versus 3. and he's not even very well saturated. TriX not having too many probes at his third, although he's got way oversaturation in his natural. He should probably transfer some of those guys out. But yeah, in between a rock and a hard place now. I can't see him getting back into this match.
Yep, the natural almost mined out, leaving TriX with one mining base, and with no map control, it's going to be next to impossible in this kind of matchup to take another one. AstrO taking a 5th base now, immediately after setting up that 4th, and that high ground can be difficult to get up, but that high ground does not affect Archons very much, as they just barrel their way up. And I think that AstrO is just gearing up for the final push that will end this game. Oh man, look at how many Dark Templars he has in his army. Is that 3 or 4? I think it's
enough to do some good storm sniping if he gets up that ramp now, although there is an observer already there. Oh, but he might manage to catch the observer with a storm right here. He does. So now, if he was aware of that, he can head right on up there and snipe out a whole bunch of stuff. Managing to snipe out 1 or 2 High Templar there, and it looks like he's going for it. AstrO looking very dominant in this final battle here. TriX is going to try and hold at the top of the high ground, but high ground is only so much of an advantage when you're fighting against such a superior army. The Archons just blasting the way up there. Nothing surviving against that, and TriX knows it. Archons very useful. Very useful.
Oh,
very useful skill to have. And GG.
Yeah. Archons are use-fuck, that's for sure.
Yeah, they're the most use-fuck unit you can have.
Pretty much. In that matchup, I think that's a pretty safe statement to say. AstrO takes game 1.
Oh dear. Well, TriX sacrificing a little bit of dignity right at the end there.
Yeah.
in a poor move, misspelling his final statement. And we're going to go on in the next game here, and we'll see if he can come back after that embarrassing typing error in that last game.
Hopefully, through the course of the last game, he has discovered the usefuckness of the Archon and will incorporate a couple more into his army if he gets to such an advantage again.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm ready to go into it. Let's have a look.
I'm ready. Yep, let's go. Game number 2 on Aztec. AstrO versus TriX. ISL3, round of 32.
Yeah. Okay, so this is where the tournament gets big. This is where it gets real. And we're seeing that today. We're seeing some good stuff. We've already seen complete domination by Busy. We've also seen complete domination by Zeki. And let's see if we're headed for another 3-0. I would imagine not. This test is looking a lot closer based on that last game. It was so backwards and forwards. At no point could you have really called what was going to happen. And yes, as Michael says, he's going to need some use-fuck cheese in order to win the mind games right here. But yeah, spawning at the top of the map as the yellow Protoss, we have ISL3 TriX. In the bottom right hand corner, spawning in as the blue Protoss, we have ISL3 AstrO. So, yeah, see how this progresses. It would not be a tournament, of course, if I didn't do a big shout out to our sponsors at the beginning of pretty much every game. So I would like to offer big thanks. Do I have the list up? Yes, I do already have the list up. I'm so good like that. Big thanks to Altitude. Big thanks to Corbjahalen, Prowler, and also Twitch TV, who all made this tournament possible. Please head on over to altitudeisl.net and keep up with everything that's happening, and from there you can link straight to altitudegame.com as well, so you can keep up to date with that and have a good bit of fun while you're at it.
Yep. So, you'd have to assume AstrO mixes up his build this time, because not only is it kind of weird to go for the same
expansion.
Yeah. Oh wait, is AstrO gonna go for a 12 next?
He is, no doubt about it. This is 12 next.
Wait, it's not a 12 next though, because he's queuing up 2 more probes.
Okay,
it's gonna be like a 14 next.
That's old school.
What? It's like AstrO 12 next, clearly. Okay, no, it's a 13 next. Excuse me. But. AstrO's like, no, 12 nexing is terrible. Clearly, everybody should be 13 nexing. That is truly the PvP build of awesomeness.
Yeah, AstrO playing with the meta game right here. So he's like, yeah, everybody else 12 nex. 12 nex is cool, but I'm going to throw it down 13 and see what happens. And I bet he's been practicing this day and out. That one probe can make all the difference here. And TriX is going to get in there and he's going to scout this out nice and early. That probe making no bones about it. But let's see how he can respond to this. There are a lot of good responses to 13 next. Should you scout it nice and early as he has, you can pretty much do anything on the table as long as you get it out fast enough. And we'll see what he opts for in this game.
Yep. And AstrO gonna go for the Korean style, throwing down that early forge. Means that he's gonna get those cannons out faster, just to be extra defensive with it. Does not want to go for the for that 5 zealot attack.
Yeah, no, I like this a lot better.
If you're unfamiliar with the backstory, there was a period about 8 months ago, I want to say, where 12 nexing was coming back as a fad among a lot of the foreign Protosses, and AstrO, aka Gosu King, was known very well as somebody who was very much against the 12 dex. He just thought it was a bad build, and he had relatively good success against it when playing against it, but it's ironic to see him now using a variation, because he's not going 2 gateway, he's going forge afterwards, but using a variation of it.
Yeah. This is one of the common 12 dex builds as well, so yeah, it's nice and ironic. I like a bit of a backstory to the StarCraft games that we're watching. That first cannon now coming in, meaning that probe is all that TriX gets. He needs to keep that alive for as long as possible. And meanwhile, I'm not quite sure what tech path he's going for. He has another probe out on the map, so we'll see if he's going to proxy something. It looks like he may well do on that buildable ground right there. Now we're about to see him lay down a pylon. TriX? Maybe, we'll keep an eye on that, but all the while I don't quite see anything interesting happening back at his main. And yes, he does lay down a pylon in the middle of the map, so it is going to be a proxy, and there are a number of things that are good against this. Is probably, given its location, probably going to be extra gateways.
Yeah, that's kind of a peculiar spot to throw down a proxy. I guess it's going to be in a pretty good position so it won't be scouted, and he could go for a little bit closer by building it in the 3rd of AstrO, but that would be a much more reasonable place for AstrO to look. I guess that's the this is going to be the best balance of still maintaining pretty close to AstrO's base while being in a rather odd location. We'll have to see if it works out for him. He is just going to spam gateways. Goon range has already finished. He got that relatively early. So he's going to try to break AstrO's cannon front with a lot of ranged goons.
Yeah, and this can be known to go very, very well, especially given that AstrO rather has gone for the early robo instead of cannoning up more, which he has done a little bit, but instead of going for a big goon army as well. And I think TriX is going to suspect tech at this point because he heads on over to the base. No, AstrO is going to suspect tech at this point because he heads on over to TriX's base and sees nothing particularly of note. He sees the goons coming out one at a time, as well. So I think he's going to assume completely wrongly that tech is happening. We'd already have the robot almost in. But yeah, those cannons aren't really going to be enough to deal with this.
Yeah, if for some reason AstrO was to go Observer first, or if TriX was to go a little bit sooner with the attack, this could be really dangerous. But at the same time, if TriX is only going for a massive number of goons, a combination of cannons with 1 or 2 Reavers is going to be next to impenetrable. So this could definitely go either way. And even if he does get the Reavers out, he's going to have to micro correctly, placing his shots in good positions to hit multiple Dragoons at the same time, making sure that he doesn't have the Reaver go too far out to get sniped. He did build the early Observatory, but did not get an Observer, and the Dragoons are going to go in, just at the perfect time as the Reaver is only 25% done, pulling probes, trying to stall a little bit just to get the Reaver out. All the cannons have gone down. He's lost half of his goons. The other ones are injured, but he does have an overwhelming number, and AstrO still has to pull all of his probes. Hasn't been losing any of them yet, which is the good thing. Now he's going to start losing them, though. I think it's time for AstrO to turn around. There we go. Losing about 5, and okay, a couple more. I think it's 7 total. Yeah. The Reaver is finally going to get out, but the Reaver's going to be unprotected, and TriX hit at just the perfect moment to abuse that Reaver timing.
Yeah, that was a perfectly timed attack, and in we go with the goons again. The Reaver is going to manage to get a shot off, and this will probably mean that TriX is going to have to retreat, but he might just be able to get in here and take that Reaver out unless the probe drilling is absolutely exemplary. Will the Reaver go down? It looks like it is going to go down after landing one final Scarab, so we do finally have AstrO able to probably beat this off, but he's lost a lot of probes, he's lost his Reaver as well, so this is really pretty problematic for him. And I don't really know how he's going to defend this. The Dragoons are coming in 2 at a time now, and he is 1 Dragoon down at this moment. He would need that Reaver to have survived, and he's just going to have to try and hold off with probes for as long as he can.
AstrO did have 2 very nicely saturated bases at the start compared to TriX, who hasn't expanded yet. So sacrificing a lot of probes maybe isn't necessarily the end of the world, but now he really is starting to fall pretty far behind. The Reaver, once again, rather exposed as Dragoons step forward to try to take it out. The Reaver might be able to live. No, it's going to be sniped, just barely. A lot of very low health goons. And AstrO is out of probes to try to buy more time. TriX with a huge supply lead at this point. And with that final Reaver going down, that's just going to be the end of the game, as TriX is now streaming into the main.
Yeah.
GG from
GG from AstrO.
And we don't have a 3-0.
No, which is cool because 3-0s aren't really so good, and we can go on to 1-1 here, which is a cool score to take into the rest of the set, and we'll see what happens. I don't think that AstrO will be trying the 13 next again. Whatever does happen, I think he's going to probably be mixing it up after that last game. Having said that, it was a very nice timing attack from TriX, and the game was by no means a foregone conclusion at any point. If that Reaver had come out just a little bit earlier, or the Dragoon attack had hit a little bit later, then it could have been a very different story.
Yeah, I definitely like AstrO's chances if he had the Reaver out. If the Dragoons had just waited for 2 extra ones and gone in 10 seconds later, completely different game. Anyway, game's up.
Okay, we're good to go.
Indeed, let's start game number 3 of AstrO versus TriX.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going into it here. On the bottom left-hand corner of the map, spawning in as the purple Protoss, we have ISL3 AstrO. In the top right-hand corner of the map, spawning in as the white Protoss again, we have ISL3 TriX. So interested to see what these guys break out here, and we have not yet seen past this map, and we will definitely do so now. At long last, it is going to be at least 3-1. That is the minimum number of games we're going to get out of this set, so should be good.
Is AstrO purple for you?
AstrO is not purple for me.
You totally said purple.
I said yellow. Throw it to the viewers. Viewers, come on. Did I say purple or did I say yellow? Help me out here.
Alright.
Don't make Hacklebeach right.
Fine, fine. You totally said yellow.
Well, I did say yellow. You're exactly right.
That's okay. That's okay.
You just said yellow instead of purple. Yeah.
Alright.
Oh, I did not. I said yellow. Thank you, Infected. I like you.
I like you.
Oh, he knows what's up.
You are as fickle with the chat as I am, just like randomly modding people.
Yeah.
Alright.
I like to mod people.
Well, I guess we have one for each. So
yeah.
It will never be decided. And in fact, AstrO will not be doing any variation of Nexus first. Both players with identically timed gateways. So that's good. On a 2-player map, that would be quite bold going for that, because especially on this map, which is a map that isn't very hard to proxy on at all. It's actually quite easy to proxy on.
Yeah, incredibly so. But yeah, I think AstrO's probably thinking, gonna bring it back to my roots a little bit now. Gonna forget about that last game and just kind of move on with it. See what he's gonna opt for here. I mean, kind of interesting to see how things play out on this map. It's relatively easy to shut down harass, I think, because the main base doesn't have that huge of a perimeter and you can get into the high ground above your natural as well. So if it's going to be shuttle play, it's going to have to be speed shuttle play, which means it's quite a big early investment. So the game can end actually pretty early in that kind of situation. I wouldn't be shocked to see that happen.
Yeah, storm drops are very, very effective on this map, and as you said, shuttles have a pretty easy time getting around. So even if you wanted to go for some Reaver harass, it's not completely out of the question, as you can rather effectively drop the Reaver down and still be able to get it back to your base in time to defend against an attack. Both players going Zealot first. To try to tickle the probe. We'll see which one of them has better probe control to keep them alive. While we wait for the first goons to come out.
Yeah, that's where it really gets interesting. First out, just going to be chasing the probe around in the main base. TriX going to keep that alive for just as long as his APM holds out. While the other side of the map, AstrO doing precisely the same thing. Cybernetic score timing puts TriX slightly ahead. Don't know where that's come from, but no, it puts AstrO slightly. Does it? Yeah, it puts AstrO slightly ahead. Don't know really where that difference came from, but either way, not going to make a huge amount of difference to the game. And AstrO choosing to go Goon first instead of range, which makes sense. You rarely see anyone go range first, and still unable to flush out the probe from their base, but it looks like, oh, TriX almost losing his probe to Zealot, which is pretty cheap stuff, but it manages to work out okay for him in the end.
Yep. So yeah, it looks like we will in fact have to wait for the first goons to come out for that probe scout to finally be taken care of, and both players can diverge into their different builds. Nope, that's just another pylon. That's actually a pretty early pylon from TriX. He has a force supply buffer before he's when that pylon's gonna finish. So a little bit early on that one, but never mind, not important.
Yeah, not crucially important. I've just been instructed, by the way, to give a little bit of a shout out to the Reddit link that Awa has just posted in the chat. Whether you like Reddit or not is a useful tool and will get us more viewers, we'll get more people watching Brood War, so please go and do that. But meanwhile, all you have to do is look in the chat and it's right there where Awa posted it. Meanwhile, we do have a little bit of a scout going in for TriX, so he's probably going to have to get into the base of AstrO. A little bit careless there. AstrO not quite shutting down the scouting paths as he should. Going to try and put maybe a little bit of pressure on with his first Dragoon, but that's not really going to go anywhere. There's 2 Zealots and 2 Dragoons covering. Going up onto the high ground here, not quite sure what for, if he's going to lay down a pylon or if he's just hiding it there, I'm not quite sure. Or maybe he's just watching over the choke. But either way, not making too much of a difference unless he does lay down a pylon. But it's a good little bit of scouting should it be undiscovered.
Yep, and both players are going to go for a 1 gateway then Robo. And, well, I guess that's going to be the first divergence. AstrO getting Robo, Support, and Observatory simultaneously again, which is a little bit on the strange side, while TriX is going for a more traditional gateway and no Observatory, as the robotic support is going to be a little bit later. What's the rationale for AstrO getting Robo, Support, and Observatory at the same time?
I think that's to kind of account for all eventualities. He likes to get that earlier. I would think he'd like to have the option to get that earlier Reaver out, but he hasn't got the scouting information that he'd possibly like. He's not quite sure whether there's DTs or not, so I think he's going to have to throw down that Observer first. But yeah, I think that's the point, so that he can change pretty much as he wishes.
Well, shuttle speed has started, and as you said, shuttle speed can be quite the important factor if you're going to go for a harass-based style. First Reaver on the way for AstrO, so we're going to see a little bit of Reaver duels between these two players, as both of them have their first Reavers on the way. And yeah, on this map there's certainly a lot of possibility to dart shuttles in and out, especially when you get that speed shuttle as AstrO is. TriX though not going to go for speed shuttles, just going to go with the slow shuttle, save a little bit of money that way.
Yeah, slow shuttle, I still think that speed shuttle is invariably really good, especially on this map where it's pretty important to have the option to get back and defend, and also to kind of sneak nice and easily around all these different areas of the map. But whatever, it's his choice. This does allow him to have a slightly superior little bit of a timing push right here. He has a better Dragoon count versus the 4 of AstrO. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, so a lot better Dragoon count right here coming off the back of his tech choices. AstrO now finally cutting out probes as he's got one very nicely saturated space, not looking like he's making ready to take an expansion anytime soon. His shuttle is almost out, so he should be able to use his defender's advantage well enough here to hold on at the very least, but TriX looks like he's dead set on trying to do some damage, and this is definitely a good option for him given that he's so far ahead in terms of army count.
No ramp is going to be quite annoying for AstrO to try to defend this, but this choke is certainly going to help out. And now we're going to see the Reaver standoff. Who's going to make the first mistake and allow their Reaver to be hit? And oh, really? AstrO's going to leave.
That's interesting.
That's risky.
I think he must have another. He didn't make another Reaver immediately as well, so he's going to be without a Reaver defending for just a while. Because what would happen if he made another Reaver is, as soon as that Reaver drops into the main of TriX, then he would think, right, okay, I'm going to go and try and bust. And AstrO would have another Reaver waiting for him. But as it is, there is nothing laying in wait whatsoever. And TriX looks like he's going to try and micro in and out again, and this could be really effective. AstrO goes into the natural. You might be able to actually take out another Reaver that's waiting in the natural. That's very unfortunate for TriX. Nice job there by AstrO, but he might actually lose the shuttle here. He's not going to. It is going to get away intact. And all the while, TriX has been unable to multitask any kind of aggression into AstrO's main. So this is living right on the edge for AstrO, but it's looking like it's going to pay off so far. He does manage to snipe out that second Reaver, and that's a little bit of a windfall for him.
I'm very surprised that he did not, that TriX did not immediately attack. He doesn't have an observer, so I guess he doesn't know that AstrO's Reaver only just came out and it doesn't have shuttle support to help him out. But yeah, I would think that immediately after seeing that AstrO left with his first Reaver and you went for a very fast Reaver of your own, you would try to press the advantage, and AstrO might be able to defend, but he might lose immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think this harass done a huge amount of damage, but having said that, the supply is now even, so it didn't really need to. But he's kind of equalised what he spent on the speed upgrade, but just by picking off a few probes here and there, doing a little bit of damage where he can. For some reason, uploading 2 Dragoons. I'm guessing he's trying to, elevate out, just so he can get a nice flank on those forces, and he might actually be able to trap them in there and do huge amounts of damage by taking out the entire army, which point you'll be able to push on pretty much freely all the way to TriX's base. And TriX needs to be aware of this, otherwise his army's going to get sandwiched and pretty easily destroyed versus a superior goon count, given that he's right next to AstrO's base. But it looks like he's not going to actually scout this unless that Zealot, which is now patrolling, does in fact go up onto that high ground, and it may do, as we're going to see in just a second.
Yeah, and now, even though there's no observers, you're really going to see the advantage of getting that, excuse me, since there's no even though there's no DTs, you're going to really see that advantage of going for an early observer. AstrO's been able to do a lot of this kind of weird aggression because of the scouting information he's had, and because he knows that TriX does not have that scouting information. TriX does send the Zealot up though, so he knows that they're coming, and TriX will be able to back off, but still, if he had an observer there, he would know, he'd know exactly what was going on, and would be able to, and would have been able to, not run into that risk of, he was lucky to not have to deal with that situation, but it could have gone very easily the other way.
Yeah, finally TriX is able to take out AstrO's observer hovering over his natural, which means that his observer will have free reign, so we can see exactly what's happening, what's coming at him. AstrO's army getting a little bit split here. He might lose a couple of units in the middle, managing to pull back just in time, so he takes up his nice position on the high ground. Finally an observer coming in to back him up as well. And the 2 Reavers both fire shots off. What is TriX doing? He really shouldn't engage in this position at all. AstrO can take the high ground and can make very easy defense right here, and he is going to be able to do just that. Nice Scarabs being landed though in the middle of all of TriX's stuff. 1 Reaver has dropped down, 2 Reavers drop down. They're looking absolutely helpless as the shuttle floats away. Both the Reavers getting taken down here, I would imagine, as both of AstrO's survive, and this was a battle taken by storm. AstrO is now surely going to be able to push into TriX's natural, and that is undoubtedly going to be GG for poor TriX right here.
For just a moment, that looked like a good engagement for TriX, because he saw that AstrO's army wasn't quite all together, so he went for a big attack. Oh man, so many probes dying. So he went for a big attack to try to punish how spread out AstrO's army was, but that high ground is just such a big factor, and AstrO used it very well. Coupled that with really nice micro, and AstrO came out far ahead in that engagement, and now TriX has lost that base, and AstrO's just going to drop Reavers into the main, and TriX is just going to have so much problem dealing with this, and I think you are right that this is going to be a game-ending attack right here.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I mean, I can't see any way out of this now for TriX. AstrO finally has natural expansion up, while TriX has no such thing. He doesn't even have a probe hidden anywhere on the map, so it's going to be very hard for him to even sneak one up without shuffling one out, which he may have to do. But it's only a matter of time until AstrO is going to be able to break this. I mean, he still has a vastly superior Reaver count. TriX managed to get another one out, another 2 out, excuse me. But yeah, AstrO really in a dominating position here. Observer going into his natural, which he should be able to clear out, leaving TriX entirely in the dark as well.
TriX going for a desperation final attack. Very few goons try to protect the Reavers, and they're going to get sniped off in shuttle. TriX GG's.
GG.
And AstrO up 2-1 needs only a single game more to advance into the round of 16.
Yeah, nice play there from AstrO. Definitely looking a lot more commanding than he was in game 2. Not such quirky stuff, but good stuff nonetheless. And yeah, we'll make ready to go into the next game here. Will AstrO be able to clean up 3-1, or will TriX get back into this set?
Alright. So, game number 4 between TriX and AstrO, and it's going to be on Match Point, which is a map dear and near to my heart, or near and dear to my heart. I think that's the order they're supposed to be in. Yeah. This is one of my personal favorites. It's just such a fun map. It's not a... It allows for a good amount of cheese, but it's not really gimmicky like some other maps, like Monty Hall might be. It's got the perfect balance of uniqueness, but still standard enough that it's not just complete silliness.
Yeah. Okay, so we're ready to go into the next game here. AO has once again posted the Reddit link. I know a lot of you don't like Reddit, but I would like you to just kind of suck it up, go on over there, upvote for the sake of Brood War. If you want to do something good, then that's one of the many things you can do. And I'm ready to go into the next game now, I think.
Alright. Game number 4. TriX versus AstrO.
Yeah. Okay, also, it's time to do another sponsor shout out. So I'm going to do exactly that right now. I would like to give big, hearty thanks to Altitude the Game, who are our namesake sponsor. I'd also like to give thanks to Twitch TV, who are putting money as well, and Prowler and Coram Jehalem community members, who are also helping to keep this magnificent game going. Thank you very much, guys. If you head on over to altitudeisl.net, which you definitely should, to keep track of everything that's going on in this tournament, then you'll see a direct link to altitudegame.com where you can play their fantastic game entirely for free and hopefully have a lot of fun with that as well. And Sale sponsored this tournament also. I'm not seeing him on the...
The list is a lot longer than the one you said, and yes, Sale was a very significant sponsor in this. Yes.
Oh, thank you, Sale. You know, I appreciate you, really. But I have a dodgy list, so I can't really help. But I'm sorry, Sale. You are, of course, very... Thank you very much, Sale, and, of course, his viewers. My bad. So we're going to actually pay attention to the game now instead of apologising to Sale, which I can't do enough. So we have AstrO spawning in the top right-hand corner as the red Protoss, and ISL3 spawning in the bottom left-hand corner as the purple Protoss. And normal stuff happening here despite it being a 2-player map. So far, anyway.
Hey, you want to know a secret? I'm really glad that you're the one who made that mistake. Because it's very hard to be angry at a guy with a British accent. So immediately Sale, just like heart mott, everything's fine, everything's hunky-dory, you'll go out for fish and chips afterwards or something. God, but if I had done it, all hell would have broken loose about the ignorant, brash American not giving proper respect to other people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably the case, bloody Americans. But anyway, yes, I'd like to know that I have a lovable accent. That's very important to my life. Oh, we have a little bit of a mana pylon being laid down in the mineral line of TriX. So AstrO playing the funky games, and this probably means, yes, he has produced a zealot, so he's going to get on over there and try to harass just as much as possible. The mana pylon. Not only does it make mining less efficient by forcing the probes around about, but it makes probes go behind the mineral line, where they become a lot more easy to pick off for that roving zealot, and makes life very, very difficult for the defending Protoss. And he looks like he's going to try and get a second one down here as well. I'm not sure if that's... Oh, it is good enough to do any damage, yes. So double mana pylon right here. And how is TriX going to respond to this? AstrO breaking out the mind games in the early game here.
Yeah, that... I can't tell if that one actually blocks anything, because it looked like probes were stuck momentarily, but then all of a sudden there's nothing in the gap. So I'm not sure if that one was correctly placed or not. But Zealot's finally out, and really? The triple? Now we're just starting to get a little bit excessive, aren't we?
I think at this point, he's already vastly delayed the mining, but it's also largely to do with the mine game as well. This is just messing with TriX like crazy. The first zealot's now in, so he's going to distract TriX's zealot, and he might actually get a probe kill right away here. He needs to work in conjunction with his scouting probe in order to 2-shot probes instead of 3. And look at what chaos TriX's mining is in right now. All his probes just running all over the place. Really desperately inefficient, manages to get one probe finally. AstrO doing a nice job of the early game harass here, trying to keep TriX on his toes as much as possible. And if this keeps going for much longer, it's definitely going to be able to pay for itself.
Yeah, it's... it's obvious that damage is being done to TriX, just by the probes that are being trapped, by the probes that are moving around, and that is making opportunities for the Zealot and the probe to get some extra kills, although he only has one right now. But he let all those pylons finish. That's getting pretty close to a Nexus worth of minerals used, and it's... when you're investing so much, is it really worth it? It's... wow.
You'd imagine maybe not, but the supply difference is quite significant. We've got 26 and 27 now to 23, so AstrO well ahead in the supply count, producing off 2 gateways worth, whilst TriX has 1 gateway up. He's not able to produce constantly out of it, so this must have paid for itself. It must have got him an advantage, and I guess that he would know that, having practiced it a fair amount. Letting another pylon warp in as well, playing the mind games to a really serious extent.
Well, AstrO trying to usher in a new age of PvP, the age of quadruple manor pylon.
Yeah, that's serious stuff.
Yeah, that's obviously going to be the end of it. As the Dragoon's out, there's a good number of Zealots there. Too, going to be enough that it's obviously not going to work anything else. But he's hiding a Zealot back here in this little crevice made specifically to hide stuff in. So he
and storm drop and like things like that.
Yeah, I think it looks like he's going to try to sneak that in, a la ZVZ Zergling style, if he happens to know that TriX is moving out. But
yeah,
I don't know. I guess
that makes good sense.
I guess so. You do have to look at it as you said. He is 8 supply ahead, and his tech is not significantly behind. His robo's going to be finishing around the same time as the observatory, just a little bit faster.
Yeah,
so,
I can only see it as a gain for him. I think it's worked out well. I don't exactly know how. I'd have to kind of get down with Brood War chart and a little bit of pen and paper and whatnot. But yeah, it seems to have actually done well for him. So we can only say that this was a good call laying down all those mana pylons, and it's certainly got him a decent lead in here, and he's going to have a little bit of aggression now. Even though he is making his way all across the map, he has equal Dragoon numbers, so if he can micro well, he might actually be able to do a lot of damage to TriX. It looked like his Dragoon range is maybe... no, TriX does already have Dragoon range, but he's losing quite a lot of health on his Dragoons. He might lose 1 Dragoon just to Zealot fire here, and he is forced to pull back, not making the best cost efficiency of his units in that engagement right there, but he might go in again. He's got 4 Dragoons up now, whilst TriX, and again, TriX is able to produce up because he's living at home, so he does have 4 Dragoons to match that of AstrO, and AstrO's going to try and go for a break. I don't know if this is a great idea, losing 2 of his Dragoons straight away, and he's going to be forced to pull back, losing a lot of health off the last 2 goons as well. So not the wisest of engagements for him there, and that levels the supply count up a little bit, but still we see a 5 supply difference. Not too significant at this point, but as AstrO makes ready to go to Reavers, he's going to have to do some damage here, otherwise that expansion is going to kick in for TriX at just the right time.
Yeah, that's it's a rather substantial risk for TriX, being behind in supply and going for the faster expo. That's obviously going to help him really get back into it, but he has to extend the supply gap even further to be able to set it up, and it's going to be a liability until he can really start mining money off of it. But is AstrO going to be in a position to really punish it? He's going to at least need Reavers to do it, and to get 1 Reaver still needs 60% of the way to go, and 2 Reavers certainly going to take a very long time. And what is AstrO doing? He has a probe and a shuttle? There's no island expansion on this map.
This is a mistake. I don't know what's happening. Is this a mistake? What on earth is he doing?
Weird.
Why is he doing it?
Weird. That can't be a proxy.
No.
There's no way.
It's just a scout.
It's just a scout?
Ooh. That is the kookiest scout I've ever seen. That was going to make TriX question his entire lifestyle, thinking, how could I have not known there was a probe in the back of my base? And that's actually a really clever scout from AstrO. That is really, really very, very clever indeed. So he does manage to get a full scout on TriX, and he sees exactly what is up, and also makes TriX think, how did I miss that? Which is another great advantage. The mind games are definitely on AstrO's side.
Yeah. The natural... I'm forced to think immediately he could have just sent the shuttle in for a flyby with the scout, but by sending in the probe, you're reducing the risk of that thing being caught by Dragoons. And if it was caught by Dragoons, which is totally reasonable to think that TriX might have a round of Dragoons just pop out and be able to snipe it, then you have to waste more of your robo time building a shuttle instead of building observers or reavers. So while it is going to cost him money, where the shuttle flyby theoretically wouldn't, I understand why he did it, and it's just so funky. I like it. I like it.
It is. It's really, really funky. Slightly weird stuff, but I like it. A bit quirky. It's what we like to see from our foreign heroes here. So we have the 2 Reaver shuttle being loaded up now for AstrO, and he's heading out across the map. TriX has got 1 Reaver without a shuttle in order to defend this, and he's not producing another one. Possibly a little bit of a misstep by him. It's going to be very, very difficult for him to defend if AstrO gets a good engagement position. It looks like AstrO is going to try and harass a little bit first. Maybe a good idea, but there are a couple of dudes laying in wait for him. There's no observer on the high ground, however, so this is going to be an invisible shuttle. And the shuttle is heading on in now, doing a little bit of waving around, decides not to go in there. There are Dragoons waiting for him here, however, 2 Reavers will be able to deal with 2 Dragoons very, very easily. It looks like he's probably going to have to take the Reavers out before the main army arrives, but no, TriX actually pushing out a little bit, slightly oddly. I don't know if he's trying to catch an observer or something. But either way, AstrO's harassed now over, and he pulls both of his Reavers back in good time.
Yeah. A little bit of a standoff between AstrO and TriX here as they're on top of the ramps. If either player wanted to attack, they need to go up and around on this high ground pod, as it's going to be a much better angle to attack either of these armies. Yeah, that one's a little bit peculiar of Reaver harass. I guess he could see the 3 Dragoons there, and he didn't want to try to drop the Reaver just for 1 shot on the probes, instead going into the main. But TriX had Dragoons in great positions to try to deal with that. So effective defense. It did cost him a Dragoon, but certainly a good net result for TriX.
Yeah, definitely. I think it worked out quite nicely for him. And AstrO's timing is of course missed, so he won't be able to burst right now, whereas he's done earlier. He'd have, instead of harassing, gone straight for the timing attack, but an opportunity missed, which he will never know about, although he does know about it now because he's in the stream and in the chat, so scratch my last. But meanwhile, he's going in for a little bit more aggression here, and Observer floats over, seeing what's up, but he's going to take out that Observer quite nicely, so that leaves TriX in the dark once again. AstrO could get a nice position on TriX's 3rd here. His Observer is going to be floating over, and he's going to see that probe is there getting ready to make it, and he has 400 minerals in the back now, so that will probably be happening any second. And down goes the Nexus. If AstrO would see that, then TriX might have a little bit of trouble defending this, but it looks like AstrO is going to pull back anyway and defend his own high ground, probably lay down a 3rd base of his own. Yeah,
well, I guess both players are pretty content with just a standoff here. It's going to be really hard to engage either player because there are so many good defensive positions on match point that it's going to be difficult to find a good engagement angle. I'm looking for upgrades right now. TriX doesn't appear to have a forge, and he certainly doesn't have any upgrades. Meanwhile, AstrO's +1 is done, and he'll presumably start +2 immediately after. So AstrO already on his way to have another good upgrade advantage.
Well, the forge is now on the way in for TriX, but yeah, as you say, it's going to be significantly later than AstrO. And AstrO is now sizing up to go for a little bit of engagement, I think. And this could actually work out pretty well for him. He's got the high ground advantage, and this 3rd base is notoriously difficult to defend. The Reavers drop down, and they're going to start things off, taking out 1 Zealot, 1 shot in there. And AstrO would do well, probably not to push all the way in. There are 2 Reavers laying wait for him, but if he gets some good scarab shots off, oh no! Ooh. Absolutely terrible micro there by TriX, getting 1 Reaver picked up, and AstrO takes a Reaver scarab as well, so it's not all over for him yet, but doing some nice pushing in. AstrO might lose a Reaver, however, both players being a little bit careless with their Reavers, and another Reaver scarab gets landed on the Reaver of AstrO. The shuttle gets taken down too. So careless from TriX, and AstrO's in a decent position here. He has 1 Reaver still remaining on very low health, but it is still there nonetheless. And they're just slugging away at it now, but probably going to be a retreat for AstrO, at least to the top of that ramp, just so we can get a slightly better engagement position to clean this up.
Yeah, both players making some slight mistakes with their Reaver as they were microing their other units, but TriX was really able to close out that battle just because his Reaver was getting a lot better shots off than AstrO. It's unclear whether TriX was purposely making those shots or whether he was just getting lucky in that sense, but his Scarabs were routinely hitting 2 or 3 Dragoons, where Astros weren't quite doing as much damage. But TriX is getting really bold here with his Reaver. He needs to be so careful to not lose it. And oh, AstrO, that's losing your
around.
TriX does get his Reaver sniped, but losing your Reaver during micro battles like that is bad, but it's understandable. But when it's just Reaver versus Reaver and you have a shuttle and they don't,
yeah, just looking at it, the supply means that AstrO is actually coming out way ahead of this. I'm not quite sure how or why, but I guess mining's a little bit more effective, or maybe he's better at throwing down gateways, but either way, he's come out better. I think he's maybe spending his gas a little more effectively, but no, because TriX doesn't have much gas in the bank either. I don't really know where that's come from. It must be favourable for AstrO, I suppose, that engagement. Do you know where that's come from?
I'm actually not terribly sure either. He was able to populate his third a lot sooner, because during that engagement, TriX hadn't populated his mineral only. So I think AstrO's saturation at his bases is what's contributing somewhat to that supply lead.
Yeah, I think you're probably right in that assessment of it.
And it's still not that big of a difference. AstrO already had like an 8 supply lead. Now he has a 15 supply lead. So it was just a little bit of a jump in that engagement.
It's gone 107. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I guess. Okay, well, we'll see how it pans out. But AstrO is looking good either way. So he's got a nice defensive position. And he's going to be able to take his fourth fairly soon if he so wishes. Sending out a little bit of speed up towards the top left-hand corner, which is a good idea, making sure that base isn't going to happen. And yeah, so both players just kind of sitting back a little bit, reassessing the match. I think TriX would do well to get slightly better observer coverage. He's got a DT down the bottom right-hand corner, which AstrO's going to have to flush out if he wants to lay down another base. Those 4 speed zealots taking down that pylon and the probe up there easily. So no 4th bases for anyone right yet.
Just as you say that, AstrO's actually just begun his 4th at the top location, which is a really odd pick, just given his army location. As you can see, he's made a very nice, he has a very nice army up at the top of this high ground pod. And this high ground pod naturally covers this expansion. So I was thinking that that would be the natural place for him to go to, and I was about to talk about his great army positioning and yada yada yada, but no, he expands over to this side, which is a little bit more out of the way for both players.
Yeah.
But if TriX actually takes his own high ground pod here, which is presumably the next step if he retreats from this attack he's going for, that base is actually going to be pretty hard for AstrO to defend. But right now we have to focus in on this attack. I don't like this engagement at all for TriX. I really think he needs to pull back here, and he is.
I think it's a poor idea. Yeah, I think equally as much that it is a bad idea. When we see AstrO, the armies are similarly tech heavy, but AstrO does have a slight supply advantage. That gap is closed a little bit now, so I guess it was just a momentary thing. But yeah, TriX would not do well to engage up onto the high ground when he's in any way behind in supply, or even if he's level, it still would be not advisable. We still don't have a 4th base down at the bottom right hand corner. We do have a 4th base up at the top of the map for AstrO, but that's quite accessible for TriX, especially in terms of storm dropping and whatnot. He has complete control over the left hand side of the map and gets shuttles all the way up there anytime he wishes. And finally, that is scouted for TriX, so AstrO is going to have to keep extra special care of that base right now. And TriX looks like he might actually engage here, but he does pull back and forms a nice concave, and AstrO would do well to pull back up to his high ground. Just needs to stay safe for a little bit longer until an opportunity presents itself, transferring probes over to that 4th as well, and making it safe with a good number of cannons.
Late game PvP can be some of the most micro-intensive situations in StarCraft, especially when you have army compositions like this. You have to manage your large armies, not only manage the large armies, but also manage multiple Templar, also manage Reaver shuttle micro. So I can't wait to see when these armies do clash. It's going to be a real testament to whoever can have the better micro in that engagement. Because it's so easy to make a very small mistake and lose all your Templar to a storm. Make a very small mistake and your shuttle gets a little bit too far forward, you lose your Reavers. Or you cause micro mistakes by your other player by stepping forward with your Dragoons while microing all that other stuff to snipe their shuttle. It's a very difficult situation, and it happens so quickly. What's
Yeah, very, very quickly. I mean, in an instant in a big PvP battle, you can suddenly have all your high Templar stormed by just 2 storms, and then that's it, because the other guy's going to have so much less. So you have to be equally as quick as the other guy, if not quicker. Otherwise, you are going to be down and out before you know it at the end of a very long and arduous game, which is pretty much the worst possible thing that can happen. And it looks like, for some reason, TriX kind of bunching all his army up together, but both players just making sure they maintain a decent position in defensive pose, just so if the other guy decides to push out, then they're going to be wise to it. We could see some nice storms going down for AstrO. It looks like he needs to be a little bit quicker with his storms, though, doing a little bit of dodgy, pushing out with his high Templar, and not being very, very cost effective there, losing 2 high energy high Templar. And we do have a little bit of a weird backstab going in as well. Can't quite find a good explanation for this. A few zealots just running in, trying to do a little bit of damage at the natural of all places. Very, very odd decision. TriX is kind of skirting around the edge, but he's unable to find a way into AstrO's 4th base. 5th base now being laid down on the bottom right hand corner, having taken out that DT, which survived for so long. And these 3 zealots actually could do some damage up at the top left-hand base now, because those probes are really, really exposed. There is no cannon coverage for them whatsoever, and this could be really bad if TriX doesn't pull his probes. He could lose a lot of his saturation right here, and it looks like he is going to be able to pull his probes off to the safety of the cannons and move some units back in order to actually try and defend this.
Those zealots actually made a world tour around them. Oh, big engagement going down. Great storm on AstrO's army. As AstrO stepping forward, it's pretty close in army size and in army composition. AstrO does have an upgrade advantage, being +2 and 1 armor compared to just +1 for TriX. That's actually going to be such huge in these kind of engagements. And AstrO's going to the center. He's going to avoid the high ground pod. He's going to have to come up through a choke, which is rather risky. But if he can get his army up there, I don't think he's going to be able to make it in time. Is he?
No. What a terrible engagement position for AstrO. He's getting completely funneled here. Most of his army is just waving around at the bottom of the route. This could be absolutely dreadful for him. Unfortunately for TriX, he is kind of bottlenecked himself a bit. Nice storm going down right in the middle of all of AstrO's stuff. He's forced to retreat. What a bad engagement for him that was. But overall, he is still gained in supply because of the early stages of that battle where he was catching his opponent just retreating. But that's really, really, really not a good engagement for him. And I feel that was just a little bit rash. Could have ended much, much worse than it did.
I understand the idea from AstrO. If he had been able to... Huge mistake from AstrO. TriX sends a lone Templar, storms a shuttle with 2 Reavers in it, and it goes down. And he gets the high Templar back. Oh, man.
Bad times.
What I was saying before that was that I understand what AstrO was trying to do. If he had been able to get his army here and TriX wasn't quite able to react fast enough, that could be a game-winning attack right there. That just would have been such a good position. And it wasn't super risky because he was going to be able to get his army out of there if he wanted to. I just think he stuck around a little bit too long, and even when he did pull back, he didn't lose a horrible amount. Losing 2 Reavers to that storm, though, was... really costly. 2 Reavers in any battle are going to make a huge difference. Looks like a little bit of engagement again. This time it's going to be AstrO who's going to be the one who backs off, getting a couple storms down.
Nice.
Good storms, doing a lot of damage on those Dragoons. I think he picked off an observer and a probe as well. But AstrO's actually going to try to take TriX base here. And AstrO will be on 6 bases compared to 4, but that is going to be shut down very quickly. TriX are moving into position to take care of that.
Yeah, I think he should be able to take care of this before those cannons come up. I would definitely hope so, otherwise that's a really pretty major problem for him. So that leaves him pretty much without any expansions to take. And this is a stage where he really needs to be grabbing another one in order to keep his macro ability absolutely level with that of AstrO's. And AstrO takes the advantage of this situation while the army of TriX is away trying to deal with that, to move his army right across the middle and get a superior position. So with this, he is able to push TriX all the way across the map, and he'll take up a nice position on the high ground there. 1 zealot ready to meet him, but that's not going to be lasting very long. And TriX actually doing a little bit of a flank. He could manage to catch 1 or 2 high Templar right here, but moving into the middle of the map, I don't quite know what his plan is. He definitely won't be able to take out AstrO while he's up on the high ground. It looks like AstrO is attacking down, trying to catch TriX while he's out of position, throwing down a couple of nice storms on the back end of his army right there. And both players just kind of swapping positions there in a really very strange turn of events indeed. 1 storm going down on TriX's stuff, but not doing too much damage at all.
And we're going to have a little bit of a trade here as AstrO is moving his army to take out this 4th. I'm surprised he didn't send a single High Templar down to storm the mineral line, but it looks like he's going to be able to take it out. TriX immediately pulling back to take care of it, and AstrO's army will be caught off. I don't know how they're going to be able to escape from this.
Oh!
So it's a matter of how much damage can he do with this army, both to TriX's army and to this expansion. It looks like this expansion is going to be taken care of pretty quickly as the cans are being taken out. The probes are going to be able to transfer, and actually a lot of these probes are going to be able to survive. That's a nice thing for him. TriX has to get up this high ground, which is going to be a little bit costly, but these Archons Zealots need to get back to help support the ramp. And I guess they can escape now that the cannons are taken out. He can just escape through that other ramp if he really just wants to get out of there. TriX with a bigger army, although this choke might not be the worst placement to engage from. No, it looks like he is going to be able to sneak out of there, maintaining most of his army intact. And that's going to be a pretty nice move from him, really slowing down TriX's economy, only off of one mining base that's almost mined out.
Yeah, very, very nice move from AstrO, really getting him a nose ahead in this game. Oh, a little bit of shuttle action there. TriX almost throwing a shuttle away over the army of AstrO, which is currently retreating. You should have known a little bit better than that. But right now we see a big supply swing. So we've got AstrO on 190, 200 again already, while TriX is on a measly 150. So a 50 supply lead for AstrO, and that is a very, very big deal. A couple more Reavers waiting in his natural as well, but he can't produce a shuttle to actually pick them up, so they're going to be pretty much useless for the time being, except in defense. And running another group of Zealots down here might be able to catch this base of TriX before it comes in, and that's a very, very important base. If it goes down, then TriX's economy is in a whole heap of trouble, and it looks like at least the cannons are going to go down, but the next will probably survive. But TriX had to redirect his army, afraid of another push through the middle from AstrO, and with now the Arbiters out, AstrO can start doing some of the observer sniping action, and with only one observer in TriX's army, this could go very, very well for AstrO.
TriX is slipping quite a bit with his macro.
Storm drop at the 12 o'clock. Just missed it, but quite a lot of probes go down. So that's a nice little bit of a win for TriX. And now TriX caught in a really, really bad engagement position. He needs to pull back. A gratuitous stasis on just a couple of units. Look how big the stasis is on that Archon. Look at that massive stasis field. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's... AstrO's been on 5 bases, 5 very well-established bases for so long, compared to TriX, who has been on 4 bases for a long time, one of which has gotten taken out. So it's slowly swinging in AstrO's favor. What I wanted to point out was how TriX's macro is really falling. He's not building anything at all. I
can't even explain why. He's not having his mod stats ready, and he's going in for an engagement, just trying to get a few nice kills, and he does manage to do that. Taking out a few bits and bobs, getting some hits on the couple of Archons as well. But it looks like TriX is actually going to try and engage up with the high ground. He's going to try and make good use of his extra gas before it's too late. But the Observer gets sniped out, and that is the nightmare of fighting against Archons. You need more than one Observer in your army at all times. Often getting one shot right there. Nice storm going down on the Reavers and a bunch of goons. TriX is just going to be in so much trouble if he doesn't get another Observer there right now, because AstrO will just be able to kind of move in and mop him up.
TriX now finally starting to spend money. I don't know if he was purposely not spending money because he wasn't mining, but now he's allowed that supply lead to really grow. It's now 40 supply lead, and 40 supply leads are where it starts to become really dire in PvP. It's almost insurmountable. You have to do something really special to come back at that point, and I don't know why he stopped building units. I can't explain it.
No, I have no idea either. He just had so much in the bank. He still has a fair amount in the bank. Even though he's hardly mining, he's got one working base. AstrO once again trying to take that bottom 6 o'clock base, and it will get cleaned up, but he's just denying it from TriX this entire time. And it's starting to look increasingly bad for TriX. I'm not quite sure I can get back into this. It's going to be very, very close. There's still that shuttle hovering up at 12 o'clock, but there's nothing in it, so that's going to be alright. It looks like AstrO is wise there. A couple of Zealots hovering around underneath. And TriX is able, however, to take out that 6 o'clock base, so it's not a complete disaster for him in that regard. But he needs to take that base for himself. It's not enough to just kind of have it there and accessible. AstrO should probably transfer some stuff from his 3rd down to the bottom right-hand corner into his 5th, because he's very undersaturated there, whereas his 3rd is absolutely bustling.
Yeah, TriX has been did use his bank. He is now pretty close to supply again, but this is just such... there is no better composition. Oh, very nice storm going down in the army, but really there is no better composition that AstrO could possibly have. It's just so ideal. Fearsome. He has almost perfect upgrades with 2 shield, 2 armor, 3 attack, compared to TriX at just 2-1. I don't know how TriX could possibly micro to beat such a fearsome army again, controlled by a good player such as Kid Canada.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. And TriX, his latest upgrades really slipped throughout this game because he's had 2 forges for a while. Big engagement going down now, though. The Reavers start landing some shots. There are 4 Reavers in there. These Archons are not going to last 2 seconds. And Kid Canada, sorry, AstrO, I keep calling him that, is definitely going to be able to take this engagement here and therefore probably the game. He should be able to blast straight on up to that top left-hand corner. What a dominating battle that one was, making such easy work of this army. There is now just kind of 1 Archon left in TriX's shuttle, and he's left to go back and try and rebuild something. His bank is now finally gone after quite a long time. He's going to be able to go up and deal with the top left-hand base easily, and TriX will have nothing to say about this. Still trying to expand to the 6 o'clock base, but that is a completely moot point whether he manages to do so or not, because he is completely split across the map. AstrO's big army bearing down on him now, and is it possible to take this game? I really don't think it is anymore. The power that AstrO has left in it is just going to be too much as he blazes through the now defunct 3rd base of TriX and onwards into the main.
AstrO just has so many use-fuck units. It's... yeah. He's...
yeah.
Good storms going down, but just storms don't matter.
Stasing his own units.
I think that was actually AstrO storming his own units. Because I assumed the Templar just got killed off really quickly, but no. AstrO's just showboating at this point. He really does have this game pretty much wrapped up. TriX does have a mining base, but even that's not going to be lasting too much longer, and his army's just barreling down. There's no way TriX can make a big enough army to defend against so many Archons. Yeah,
absolutely. And a 3 probe transfer trying to head out to that 6 o'clock base, and I think they are going to make it, but I don't know how much of a factor that is for good old AstrO as he blazes his way on through the natural of TriX. TriX hang on for as long as he can, but it's only a matter of time. You still see those giant ice Archons up in the middle of the map, and they're coming out of stasis now to go into the fray and help out. And another strike force is out, it's going to go down and take that base out for the last time. TriX going to have nothing to say about this, and it is going to be GG for him. And we've seen some very, very nice games from both of these players here. But all that remains is for AstrO to conclude the match and take out TriX's final remaining stuff.
Yeah, very hard-fought series between 2 players. If there was a series to show why you keep arguing that PvP is actually really entertaining, this is why, man. Because it really is actually entertaining when you have some good people doing it, as we saw. Good play from both players.
Yeah, no doubt. Very, very nice play from both of these guys. But AstrO overall coming out on top. And yeah, TriX is still mining at the top left-hand corner, but there are 4 Reavers slow walking in, and GG from TriX. Very, very nice games from AstrO. We could see he was very well prepared there, had some useful strategies ready to go, and was able to deal with TriX very effectively and very entertainingly.
Yep. So AstrO will advance, TriX unfortunately eliminated, and we still have one more series to cast today. Bibian versus Eonzerg. So stay tuned for that right after this commercial. All right, and welcome